We like to think that history is a solved equation. We draw lines through the past, label events, and lock them away in dusty archives. But history also has its dark matter. Stories so strange, so unbelievable, that they resist every attempt at a rational explanation. These are not just gaps in the record. They are stress tests of the human condition, events that reveal the deepest structural weaknesses of the societies in which they occurred. Today, we go beyond known history to uncover three enduring historical anomalies, a trio of shadows that continue to haunt the global imagination. We'll dissect a horrifying German murder where the killer lived with the victims for days, investigate the chilling disappearance of 3 men from a remote island citadel, and reveal the truth behind an epidemic where hundreds danced themselves to death. These are the dark chapters that time itself has refused to close. Stick around to the end because the facts we uncover are far stranger and far more terrifying than the myths. Our first mystery takes us to post-World War I Bavaria, 70 kilometers north of Munich, to a small farm called Hinterkaifeck, a name that literally means behind Kaifeck, placing it in the shadow of the nearest hamlet. It was a place defined by isolation, both physical and moral. The farm was home to the Gruber family, the patriarch Andreas, 63, his wife Cecilia, 72, their daughter Victoria Gabriel, 35, and her 2 young children, Cecilia, 7, and infant Joseph, 2. This family was already shrouded in darkness. Andreas and Victoria had served prison time for incestuous relations, and rumors persisted that young Joseph was the product of this continued union. This history of transgression created a wall of silence around the farm. But in the spring of 1922, the isolation broke down. In the weeks leading up to the attack, the terror began with a psychological siege. Days before the attack, Andreas Gruber found a fresh set of footprints in the snow leading from the forest directly to the farmstead. The terrifying anomaly: there were no return tracks. The intruder had not just visited, they had taken up residence somewhere in the complex structure. The terror escalated. A maid quit, claiming the house was haunted. A newspaper that Andreas hadn't subscribed to appeared on the property, and a set of house keys vanished. The Grubers were not just victims of a break-in, they were roommates with their killer. On the night of March 31, 1922, the killer struck with calculated efficiency. It is believed they lured victims one by one from the farmhouse into the cold, dark barn connected to the main house. One by one, 4 family members, Victoria, Cecilia, mother, Andreas, and 7-year-old Cecilia, were brutally struck down with a mattock, a heavy pickaxe. The horror deepened inside the house. The killer murdered the new maid, Maria Baumgartner, who had only arrived hours earlier in her bed. Finally, the 2-year-old Joseph was bludgeoned in his bassinet. Perhaps the most disturbing element is the post-mortem cohabitation. The bodies were not discovered until the following Tuesday, April 4th, nearly 96 hours after the murders. For 4 days, the killer remained on the farm. Neighbors reported seeing smoke rising from the chimney. The killer ate food from the pantry. The bed in the master bedroom appeared to have been slept in. Most bizarrely, the killer tended to the livestock, feeding the cattle and milking the cows. Today, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain officially unsolved, despite a modern profile suggesting one key suspect, widely believed to be the neighbor Lawrence Schlittenbauer, who had motive and suspicious familiarity with the scene. The true horror of Hinterkaifeck is that the enemy was not at the gate. He was in the attic, allowed to remain there by the very wall of silence the family had built.
Our second mystery demonstrates the failure of technology against the chaos of nature. The Flannan Isles, known as the Seven Hunters, are a desolate cluster of rocks 21 miles west of the Isle of Lewis in the Outer Hebrides. Here, in 1899, the Victorian era completed a massive symbol of man's dominance over the dark, the Flannan Isles Lighthouse, a 75-foot tower built to withstand the brutal Atlantic. By December 1900, it was manned by 3 experienced keepers: Principal Keeper James Ducat, Thomas Marshall, and relief man Donald MacArthur. The first sign of trouble came on December 15, when the steamer Arctur passed the islands and noted in its log that the light was not burning. A furious gale delayed the relief vessel, the Hesperus, until Boxing Day, December 26th. When the relief keeper, Joseph Moore, finally ascended the 160 steep steps to the lighthouse, he found an overwhelming sense of foreboding. No one greeted him, and the entrance gate was closed, a serious breach of strict regulations. Moore's report reveals a scene that was perfectly ordered, yet utterly chilling. The kitchen was tidy, the pots and pans cleaned and put away. Crucially, there was no mythical, untouched meal often cited in folklore. The men had finished lunch. The clock on the wall had stopped. The lamp in the tower was trimmed and ready to be lit, suggesting the disappearance happened before dusk on December 15th. The key piece of forensic evidence was in the entrance hall. 2 sets of heavy foul-weather gear, oilskins, belonging to Ducat and Marshall were missing, but Donald MacArthur's oilskins were still hanging on the peg. This implies MacArthur rushed out in his indoor clothes, a desperate act suggesting a sudden, unplanned emergency. The official investigation by Superintendent Robert Muirhead focused on the terrifying damage to the West Landing. This area, 110 feet above sea level, showed signs of catastrophic violence. Iron railings were twisted and torn from their foundations, and a massive 1-ton stone block had been dislodged and moved. The most plausible theory, backed by the official 1901 report, is the rogue wave hypothesis. As the storm rose on the afternoon of December 15, Ducat and Marshall likely went down to the landing to secure equipment. The narrow inlet, or geo, would have funneled wave energy. A sudden rogue wave, capable of reaching the 110-foot level, as evidenced by the bent railings, swept the 2 men away. MacArthur, seeing his colleagues in distress, rushed out without his coat in a desperate attempt to help, and was swept away himself. The Flannan Isles mystery persists because it challenges our faith in progress. We cannot accept that 3 experienced men and a symbol of Victorian fortitude could simply be erased by the sea. Our final mystery proves that ideas can be as lethal as viruses. In the 16th century Strasbourg, society was reeling. Malnutrition was rampant, and the population faced the lingering threat of the Black Death and the new terror of syphilis. In this high-stress environment, the cultural atmosphere was thick with religious anxiety. People deeply believed in the cult of Saint Vitus, a saint who could inflict a curse of compulsive dancing upon sinners. In July 1518, the dancing began. A woman identified as Frau Trophia stepped into a narrow street and began to dance spasmodically, without music. She danced until she collapsed from exhaustion, slept briefly, and then resumed. Within a week, 30 people were dancing. By August, the number had swelled to approximately 400. Contemporary accounts describe a nightmare scene, dancers screaming for help, their limbs thrashing, unable to stop, prisoners in their own bodies. The Strasbourg City Council, faced with a crisis, consulted local physicians. Following the Galenic theory of humors, the doctors diagnosed the victims not with demonic possession, but with overheated blood. Their prescription was catastrophic:
They believed the victims needed to sweat out the sickness, so they must be kept moving. The council cleared markets to create dance floors and, unbelievably, hired professional musicians, pipers and drummers to provide a rhythm. They even paid strong men to hold up the dancers and keep them moving when they flagged. This intervention backfired spectacularly. The music and public spectacle acted as a vector for psychological contagion, turning the city into an incubator for mass hysteria. Eventually, realizing the error, the council reversed course, prohibiting public dancing and pivoting back to spiritual intervention. The afflicted were loaded into wagons and taken to the shrine of Saint Vitus. There, the dancers were given red shoes and participated in a specific ritual led by priests. Crucially, the ritual worked. It provided a culturally sanctioned exit strategy from the trance state. Modern pathology rejects the old theory of ergotism, fungal poisoning, as the victims could not have danced for days if poisoned. The consensus today is that the dancing plague was a textbook case of mass psychogenic illness, MPI, an extramotor trance triggered by extreme collective stress. The mind, breaking under the trauma of famine and fear, used the collective belief in the St. Vitus curse to manifest a physical expression of anguish, a collective scream.
These three mysteries, though separated by centuries and continents, share a common thread. They are proof of history's deep capacity for terror, often where we least expect it. Hinterkaifeck shows us the failure of the community, how the secrets we keep can become the void that swallows us whole. The Flannan Isles show us the failure of technology, how even the greatest human engineering is utterly vulnerable to the raw power of nature. And the dancing plague shows us the failure of the rational mind, how collective fear can hijack our bodies and become a self-fulfilling, deadly prophecy. They remain unsolved because they defy our expectations of order. They force us to confront the fact that sometimes the chaos of an era is enough to allow a monster to escape justice, or a massive wave to erase all evidence, or a simple folk belief to become lethal. The true mystery is not what happened, but why we still can't let them go. They remind us that the darkness that leaks into history is often stranger than any fiction we could devise. What do you think is the true explanation for these shadows? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed diving beyond known history, please like this video, subscribe for more hidden secrets, and we'll see you in the next episode.